what I was taught right at the beginning when I first started taking A Course in Miracles, was that whenever I see that word atonement, I'm supposed to substitute and say at one minute. Break it down and say at one minute, meaning that to atone. So the dictionary says atonement is an act of contrition, something we do to make up some error, something we do to make up for sin, so to speak. Atonement. So we atone by doing something. We do some. Don't just say sorry, but do something, right, to make up for some mistake that we have made. Some people think about it also as perhaps the punishment for what we have done. And I think all of that is just erroneous on its face, because it keeps us so to make up, to do something to make up for sin. Yes, so we take responsibility for our errors. This is where we begin. We take responsibility for our errors, and then we move in forgiveness. And the forgiveness could be, and it always, almost, I would say not almost, always, it involves us doing some forgiving, and then presenting ourselves for the forgiveness of the person who we may have harmed. But in the idea of punishment, we don't think about it as punishment, we think about it as cause and effect. To always keep in mind that cause and effect is in operation. There's not some, okay, this is what I believe, all right? You don't have to believe any of it. Just because I say it, you don't have to believe it, but I'm going to tell you. It's not like there's someone or some power watching who then punishes. This is something that I taught that from a very young age, that God is always watching, and then when you do something, God will punish you. And of course, this is where the attempt to explain why bad things happen, right? From the earliest age when we began to consider it, why is this happening? We said there's poverty, and so that's why, I don't know, the crops fail. That's why there was a terrible storm and people died in the storm. A bunch of gay people in this area, and that's why they had a hurricane. There you go. That's the modern one. And people actually get on television. People actually get. I know it's hard to fathom, but people actually get on TV and say that stuff. I mean, people who are supposed to be leading a spiritual flock. Now here again, this is something for me. When I see this or hear it, then now that's a judgment. I can make this is for me a comfortable judgment. But that person who said that also needs forgiveness. And when I say forgiveness, I mean forgiveness for the state of mind that caused them to think that in the first place. Right? Not that it's like, oh, they were bad, but we're going to let it go, but that we see them free of that state of mind. Somebody tweeted this week after this killing in New Zealand, 50 people killed, while they're praying, 50 people killed. Somebody tweeted a whole list of events where people went into churches or mosques or synagogues and killed the people who were inside praying. Then there was a list of, they were pretty recent. And then after they would list the event, they put underneath each one white supremacists. And it was every single one. And so here we say, well, wait, now what's the atonement for that? How do you? So in our common thinking, when we'd ask the question, how do you atone for a sin like that? Going and killing a bunch of people who are, it pushes all kinds of buttons, right? It pushes all kinds of buttons everywhere. But we would, we could feel comfortable in our judgment and say, well, that's unforgivable. But that is unforgivable. What happened here? But
everything is forgivable.
Yes. It must. We are called. And so again, nobody is saying there's justification, but what we are saying is there is some kind of mind, some kind of programming, some kind of thought system, belief system involved here that is the impetus, it is the trigger, it is the thing that is causing our brothers and sisters to kill one another. And so what I am saying, that we have a method, and the method is forgiveness, and that forgiveness is to see that condition healed. That's our highest prayer, to see it healed. That does not mean that we don't separate that person or those people from society so that they cannot continue to do that. But what it means is that in our minds, we want to clear the decks, we want to clean the slate, we want to start again from that point of view that all of us are one in God. And this is our atonement for sin. The atonement for sin is at one meant. It's about in our own mind becoming one with that person who, yes, obviously made a decision to separate from us, or if we look close enough to them, maybe they're not thinking they're separated from us, but they made a decision to separate from others because for some reason. Atonement at one moment brings them back into oneness, at least in our mind. And that's the beginning. Because the Course says, minds are joined. Minds are joined. And this is an ancient idea. You know what happens. You know what happens. It's not a coincidence when you're thinking of someone and all of a sudden your phone rings and it's them. It is not a coincidence. When you call someone, they say, I was just thinking about you. Because we're touching each other all the time. Most of the time we try to keep the barrier up. The ego is trying to keep the barrier up. So, atonement. Some act to make up for sin, for injury, and this is you know, I mean, look, this is one example of what happened in New Zealand is an example that really gets you stirred up, which the ego wants. It wants to point out to us situations every single day. It wants to point out to us situations. This is not right. This is why I'm afraid. This is why we live in a dangerous world, and we're always at risk. Ego delights in suffering that it can point out and say, "See, I told you. I told you these people were no good." And then what does that do? Leads us on a crusade against someone else to keep the cycle of hate and violence going on and on and on and on. So we say we look at the Middle East and we see that this has been going on in the Middle East for so long. We say, what has happened? What do we do? And you say, where did this start? Where did this start? Because everybody is saying, whoa, well, you did this, so we're coming over there, we're going to do this. This is whatever. It's all this revenge for the thing that just happened. Track it back. Track it back. When it first happened, it was when Abraham sent Ishmael to the desert. Hagar, right? This is when it started. When Sarah said, we can't have this woman and her child in our family anymore. Put them in the desert. It started before that. It started before that. The first time they felt we needed to take that, this is where it started. And where it's going to end, is when we come to the state of mind of true forgiveness, is when we can say, I'm not going to kill you. This is tough, but this is not a new thought. Gandhi knew. They said there was no chance that Gandhi was trying to accomplish whatever his work was unfinished. But still, you go back and look at it, it's an amazing thing, with no violence. So, atonement for sin, contrition. So, step in the recovery programs that we continue to take personal input, when we're wrong, promptly admit it, that when we're paying attention, when we're in mindfulness, when we are watching our thoughts, is that we can catch the thought before it ever becomes a word or a deed that we then have to, admit to someone else, and we catch the thought and we admit to ourselves, wrong thought, I'm going down the wrong path. And so when we see a horror, when we see something to get all stirred up over, and hey, you know what? I think I only watched the news. I'm trying to think. I watched the news 3 times this week. This is I'm like a smoker who said I cut down to 3 cigarettes a day. But anyway, turn the news on, and there will be something about every 5 minutes or so that you can get yourself all stirred up over. And they help you out because somebody on the TV stirred up over it already. And they can fuel you, get you all spun up, and but that's what I'm saying. That person, I can't understand that person because they are that much different from me. They're alien. I can't understand them, so they're a threat to me, or I'm angry about their position or their point of view. That first thought right there, that's the admission right there. To stop right then and said, that's wrong. That is not correct. I don't have to agree with what they're saying. But I don't have to think that because they're saying that they are some kind of alien monster. This is where it goes wrong. When I start to characterize other people, part of my family actually, if I really think about it, when I start to characterize them as, unforgivable, unsavable, whatever, right? Unknowable. That's the admission then. The atonement then is to say, no, that was wrong. This person is a child of God, as am I. This is the correction. That's the atonement. That's the contrition for sin. To change it again. And remind ourselves, when we've gone past it, we've blasted right through the thought and gone to the word, then again, we stop then. When we notice it, right, we stop then and say, all right, how do I bring myself back into harmony with this situation or with this person? And the admission is, when I said that, I was wrong. I know that's hurtful. I was wrong. And have that idea in mind, as the 9th step would be telling us, that idea in mind of what could I do to make up for it? Sometimes we would say that. Sometimes we wouldn't say it because we already know what to do to make up for it. Don't do it again. Don't say it again, right? And it's the same thing when it's more than a word. When it's more than something I've said. I've gone and done something. The freedom, the thing that short circuits karma. This is the short circuit of karma. This is how to stop. This is how to put another cause out into the air so that we get a different effect. To stop and admit it then, and try to come to some kind of understanding, some kind of healing with the person. And what ends up happening is we have introduced love into the mix. And when we love, that becomes a cause, and the effect is love comes back. When the cause is fear, anger comes back. Fear comes back. So atonement. Harmony. So I was thinking, so I was writing the stuff for this week. About this idea. Got one here that I really wanted to. So part of this is to see correctly, and so this one for March 21st is this about discernment, about to see through. We are, as we're doing this, see, as we're doing this practice and stopping these erroneous thoughts that come to us, we are discovering that the material world is not what we thought it was. It's not what it seems to be. That everything is actually a projection of what's coming from here. So here we're back on cause and effect. That if the cause that's on the inside is fear, it projects onto the material world and shows me something fearful. So I'm the projector, and the movie that I'm projecting for myself is a movie about something to be scared of. But if I change it up and establish that sense of peace, calm, love within me, then it changes the way the world looks. And so I see, yes, and it doesn't mean that if I see something bad, some disaster or something horrendous that happens in the world, that I'm all of a sudden in denial of that thing. But what happens in me is I see, here's an opportunity for healing. Here's an opportunity to give love. Here's an opportunity to help someone, rather than just call somebody else up and say, did you see this terrible thing that just happened? So that we can commiserate. There's something I can do. Sometimes it's so far away, there's nothing I can do right at the moment. Maybe later I can send a little money if I have a little money. But what I can do right now is I can pray for the healing of the situation, rather than allow myself to get all stirred up over it and look for somebody to blame and all. So we know from our practice that everything we see in the material world is transitory. The material world is designed in this way. In other words, it all changes. And this is the Buddhist practice. That the Buddhist, what the whole idea of your meditation is to come to grips with and peace with the idea that the world is changing all the time. That the world continues to change. Well, here's the cool thing for us, is that we know that there's something within us that never changes. And that is the presence of God. That is the divine identity, which we really are. That never changes. The outside is always changing. Not one single thing will last. Everything is transitory. We know it's not going to last, but somehow we keep clinging to it. We cling to it. If it's good, we cling to it. If it's not good, we try to push it down. We don't want to pay attention. We want to get it out of here. Don't want to think about it. But we cling to it, and some people hope that actually we will get what we want. And that changes from moment to moment, what it is that we want. Our sitting practice allows us to quietly observe the nature of the temporary, knowing that everything that we see in the world will eventually disappear. Every thought that we have will change. Every emotion that we're presently feeling will fade away. It's all just temporary. Every single body will go down to dust. Everybody. Just the way it is. It's essential that we come to terms with the impermanence of the physical. What seems so substantial is by its own rules temporary. This is the way it's designed. This is the way we've set it up. It will dissipate. That which now seems to have such great significance will soon become immaterial. I mean, literally, it will become immaterial. They'll fade away. These facts can be like this big source of fear, or they can be the of our attachments. We will soon see through it. In the practice, we will see through it to what is actually eternal. And you know, this is the thing. Who's doing the seeing here? This is the key to this whole idea. Who's doing the seeing? Who is it observing? So, well, that's me. That's me. I'm observing. But who is it then that's observing you? You will see in sitting in the practice that there is actually an observer that observes all, that actually observes the observer observing. And observes the feelings that the observer is having and is not attached to the feelings. This is called the one who knows. This is called the Holy Spirit. This is called Christ consciousness. It is also called who you really are. Who you really are. The ultimate healing of what we call sin is to return our consciousness to this which we really are, child of God. For us to take on this mantle. This is what I'm calling you to. I'm calling you to take on the mantle of holiness that is yours. You go, oh no, the ego object to this. The ego, just a moment ago, wanted to think was so superior, does not want to have anything to do with this idea of being holy. It'll use the idea of being holy to say, what's wrong with you thinking that you can be holy? Why? Why do you even think that? You are holy because you are made of that which is holy. Not your body, spirit. Your spirit is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the Spirit that we share. So, to make up for mistakes, put our attention on that which is real, which is the Spirit of God. And we extend the love that makes up that Spirit every single place that we see something to be upset about. This is all forgiveness is. It's an extension of love. It's saying the love that is in me is strong enough to heal this situation. It is surely strong enough to heal it within me. And if it's healed within me, that goodness that results in me will spill out from me and touch at least one person who is close to me. This is atonement. This is